before you get to the top.
Oh, yeah.
Got the very break through.
Yeah. Figured I should.
If there's something.
What's on your mind? Shoot them all.
How does it look bad? Any comment? Public comment. So that lady.
Public comment.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm Stacy with Vision.
All right, there we go. We'll call
I'll watch it.
the meeting to order. Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would you please take roll?
Councilman Madsen?
Here.
Councilman Montoya?
Here.
Councilman Fritz? Councilman Race?
Here.
Mayor Graves?
Here. You have before you an agenda, a couple of changes, or additions, I shouldn't say changes. Under unfinished business, item number 3, we will adopt a revised procurement policy. And on E, number 1, under the Wyoming Community Gas, I would just like the agenda to reflect that the community gas funds will be spent on updating a little bit of park equipment and handicapped playground equipment in the city parks. No other changes. Unless you have anything, Candy, did I get them all?
Do we have executive session?
Executive session under.
It's on there.
Yep, it is on there.
I'll move to accept the agenda as amended.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We'll jump right in with appointments. Jarvis, I see you're in attendance. I would yield this time for the council to address any questions or concerns they may have for you.
From what I understand, is there not an opening on the planning commission?
So there's, 2 alternate positions
Saw that.
on planning and zoning and 2 positions open on Board of Adjustment.
And you do not want to be back on the alternate again, is that correct?
Well, thank you.
Go ahead.
Councilman. I was trying to get on the planning and zoning committee. A little bit of a misunderstanding, and I should have probably been put on it way back, as you see on the last pages of that, on about October, when I was involved. And so I had to resign from the Board of Adjustments in order to be put on that, which I did, and that's fine. The other thing is I've always wanted to be on the Planning and Zoning Commission, so I was given a long and lengthy questionnaire to try to fill out, so you all got copies of it, though I didn't have that when I first applied to be on the thing, and I'm not sure that any of the rest of the people that are on it ever filled out that long and lengthy questionnaire, but actually, it's got a lot of good questions on it. So I think I'd like to have my committee, the committees and stuff, go over those things so that they can get on the same page with what the goals are for the organization. And I don't mind being on the alternate. I still attended. I've been attending since about last July or August anyway, and being involved with it. Why I'm not on there is not quite sure. The other thing that I'm concerned about, I handed you another thing, and that's that I think we're gonna need to address from our committee, and whether it's even been brought up, and that's building code. You know, I was reading all the problems with accepting any universal building codes, and this is kind of apart from my being on the committee, is because like the problem with Boulder of having to install sprinkler devices in all the houses. They're replacing the 5,000 houses down there, and then turning around and having to put electric car chargers in all the new ones so that everybody can be compliant because of building codes. Guys, I think that I just warn you to be aware of adopting any universal codes without reading them all. Now they decided to change that agenda down there and go back to the old rule of building codes. Now they got lawsuits because some of the contractors went one way and some of the other way. So as far as building codes go, that's just one of the things I wanted to bring up. If I get a chance to be on it, I'll be on it. It's not that important. I've always been on the other side of the fence, applying to planning and zoning because I've been building with my family for years and years here. That's my 2 cents worth.
Thank you.
Are the building code part of the purview of planning and zoning?
No.
No. So it's not relevant.
Okay.
The lengthy questionnaire he's talking about is the planning and zoning or board of adjustments application. And anyone that has applied to be on planning, zoning, or board of adjustments has completed that application since Amy has been our planner. Because the one that he completed, that was done in 2020. It was a joint application for board of adjustments and planning, zoning, and we separated them out for it with questions that pertain to each rather than just having one application. So when he first applied, he applied with the joint application, but he had indicated that he wanted board of adjustments the first time that he applied, which was in November of 2020. And his appointment to board of adjustments was, I believe, either December or the following January by council to board of adjustments, not to planning and zoning.
And I misunderstood that. I thought it was the planning and zoning.
So now as in the opening that we have for an alternate, is that just for the main board if anybody is unable to come so that you have a quorum? Is the alternate, are they a voting member at the meeting, or are they just more or less standing on the sideline watching? Are they having any influence voting, or is it just mainly the chairman, the vice, and then the 1, 2, 3, 5 below?
So the alternate members are, because we actually asked for them because we were having a hard time getting the quorum. We haven't had that issue with the current board that we have, and the alternate member has only been voting if they were needed to make a quorum, meet that requirement. So, and the way that the bylaws are written, it is if somebody had to resign before their term was over, then the alternate would move up and finish out that term.
So the question is, that we have in front of us to put Jarvis on as an alternate and off of the Illinois board.
I don't know if he resigned.
He resigned from that, so, okay. So then this is, what we're doing is approving Jarvis to go on to that as an alternate.
If the mayor makes a nomination.
Okay, that's where I'm at. Where do we stand on it?
I think the mayor wanted to kind of judge what our feelings are or what we think before he offers a nomination. Jarvis, can you help us understand what we have a transcript from a planning and zoning meeting in which you were quoted as saying, "I'm not worried about the future. Seeing the future does not concern me. It is not a non-issue. And yet this is a planning and zoning board." You are also noted that, let's see, the request for land use that suits their needs and to pre-think what will happen in the future is not our issue. And there's a lengthy diatribe of all about some confusion about what rates we're charging for special use permits or being charged. It seemed like a lot of back and forth for, I don't know how valuable it was, but can you help us understand what you were really thinking?
Well, first off, I think it's kind of a misunderstanding of what I was trying to get across. The point is I do care, always have cared, and always been involved in caring. I didn't care about more government overreach and more additional laws. And the problem being, we constantly, as sitting in on the planning zoning board, seem like we get more and more involved in littler items. And maybe I'm totally wrong, but I see us being more and more in control of such things as signage, whether we're involved in big signs or little signs, or I think when a person comes in to buy a building permit or things like that, they apply for the building permit and they want to put up a sign, and we're the eyes and the ears of the council, and we're kind of like the judge of whether the signs are accepted or not accepted. But as a landowner, if I want to sign up at my office, I don't normally go to the Planning and Zoning Commission to do it. I've had signs up for years. And we haven't addressed a lot of signs, election signs, et cetera, like that, or else I haven't. Because I have lots of lots and I let people put up their signs on their lots, and I don't quit whether they bought a building permit. I didn't care that they put up their signs on my lots. Didn't make any difference to me that they wanted to put signs on my lots. And this, I think, is misconstrued of whether I care or not. But what I didn't care about was some of the things I didn't think we ought to be involved in.
No, it doesn't say you don't care. It says, you said the future does not concern me. It is a non-issue. And the whole thing, planning and zoning, the very basic element of it is the future.
Well, I'm sorry. I don't believe that. Even though
You don't believe that
I don't believe that I don't remember saying that exact thing. Yes, it does involve me. And I don't remember just dismissing that with an I don't care about the future of our community. I've been involved in caring about the future of our community for years and years and years, and helping build it, and working with my family and the contractors and the accounting profession, doing the paperwork on it. So I don't know where that got construed. If that is intended to indicate that I'm not interested in our future, I'm sorry, I don't believe in that.
It doesn't, it's not an editorial. It is a word for word report of the minutes of the meeting. It is, you've been quoted.
I've been quoted. I don't have an answer.
That's fair.
I think it applied to something else.
Well, maybe tell me what your take was on the de-annexation of the property for the Impact Church.
We met with the de-annexation and as a workshop, and we went over it. We asked Jeremy what they wanted to do. They said because of the costs of, and you were kind of there at the time with, and in the workshop.
It was.
Uh-huh. We were back here in the workshop. And we met with them and we asked about what do they feel they needed. And they said, well, the cost of putting in utilities was exorbitant for them to try to swallow. And maybe they didn't, and they felt that if they de-annexed it, that they would be able to put utilities in cheaper than going with city utilities. So I was one of the people that voted for the de-annexation in order to help them make their project work. Though I voted against what city council came up with as a conclusion. And you decided not to de-annex them, which is your proper authority and ability to do. And our job is to back what your decision is. And your job was to try to help them be in the city, to be part of the utility program and be able to afford it and make the whole plan work. And not only that, when you decide to develop Pruitt Road out there, you will have additional costs that go into maybe when they decide you expand the city to a larger capacity. And though I asked Jeremy at the time, what do you really think would be the benefit to you? And he says, de-annexing. When I went to the city council meeting a couple of councils ago, you decided to reverse that and not have it de-annexed. I think that's a wise decision, and I back that entirely. Though you also came about and made some plans to try to help him put it together too. And because of those plans and then not a slam door on the deal, I'm very much on what you came up with a decision. Now I'm just a one-man vote in a group of people, and I'm not the only one. I was a majority that voted to de-annex it. Came in front of the council, you didn't accept our approval. That's perfectly fine. That's what you should have done. If I was in your position, I would have voted the same way. If I was a councilman. I would try to help growth in business and help make the town bigger, not smaller. That's what came out of it. Contacting Jeremy says absolutely, it's better anyway to be in the town. But the cost of utilities, they were talking hundreds of thousands of dollars to try to get utilities out to him. They didn't have a budget to do that, or you guys did. Now I sat in the next meeting and I watched you select different dollars from different budgets that you could throw at that direction and make it work, which I'm proud of you for doing that. That painted a picture of what you're looking for?
I think so. I mean, what seems a little odd to me is that it's a little bit like flip-flopping, and I don't like that term, but if you felt like the council made a good decision to
Try to help them, yeah.
try to help them, why wouldn't that have been planning and zoning's recommendation? It's better for the town in the long run to keep this property in the town. Why not make that recommendation? Bring that up from planning and zoning. You guys need come to us and say, you guys need to figure this out because we don't think de-annexation is the right thing to do.
I'm not the only one. I'm not the chief, and neither was I the chairman of the committee. And so therefore, I just was a voting member at the time. And it passed as to de-annex them. And I wasn't the controlling or the breaking vote. But our objective was to see growth. That's always what it's been. If growth means something they can't afford to grow. If they can afford it and the town's working with them, and you're finding budget to help them make it, by all means, let's get on board. But if it's not a flip-flop, it's a concept of can they afford it, and what will make it work for the whole town and community.
At the, I wasn't here last one, a couple meetings ago, I think we asked the planner and the clerk what their recommendation was, and at the time, and we're still shorthanded, in better words, for the Board of Adjustments, and their recommendation, because they go to all the meetings, I don't go to those meetings, but made the suggestion that thought your talents and the history of a businessman here for as long as you were, that benefit would have been more having your experience on the Board of Adjustments. You know, whether, like I said, it's in the minutes here, the concern maybe not looking so far out into the future where the Board of Adjustments might be more applicable for all your years of business in the community and seeing what's going on. But I was just wondering why I don't know if you went to a meeting or why you wanted to resign so quick off Board of Adjustments with the recommendation from the planner and the clerk.
I was told that for me to apply to be on planning and zoning, I had to resign from the Board of Adjustments. I had a desire to be on planning and zoning. From day one, they didn't have an opening about 2 years ago when I planned. He says, well, we have an opening on Board of Adjustments. I said, well, okay, I'll take that for a while. I signed up for that. But I've also attended the planning and zoning meetings to try to help. It's really my love. And the Board of Adjustments has not really been.
Do you have any additional input for us, Amy?
So Jarvis has been coming to the workshops as well, the joint planning and zoning and Board of Adjustment workshops. And as far as I know, he hasn't attended a Board of Adjustments meeting. He resigned before the last one. So he didn't come to that one. He was appointed either early 2021 or December 2020. I don't remember exactly on the dates of that. But especially when it comes to appeals, and if you want to be involved for appeals that pertain to building permits, those come to Board of Adjustments. That would be the one time that Board of Adjustments is involved with that portion of the code.
Any other thoughts from you guys?
I don't know. It feels uncomfortable, and it shouldn't feel uncomfortable.
Feels uncomfortable to me too.
I'm sure. And I apologize for not having called you. I meant to call you this weekend or sometime today and talk to you directly. Quiz. I mean,
It doesn't pay enough for me to fight to get on.
that's what's interesting or what's uncomfortable about it is why are you fighting so hard?
I just want to be on, I've tried to be on planning and zoning for years. I just haven't stepped up to trying to get there. I just asked, can I be on it? Different councils in the past, and things like that. And I've worked on industrial development committee when we helped with the power plant here. So I was very involved in the development. I can either serve you guys or back off. It won't offend me either way. If I get the chance, that's fine.
Appreciate that. Well, since we have a full slate of planning and zoning members, can we hold off for, I hate to do it, but hold off for another month? So, I mean,
I'm gonna kind of throw that out there before.
I won't be at the next month meeting because I got to see the new grandkids.
oh, well, good. That's more important. Definitely do that.
I would take that under advisement because then that might give you the opportunity to individually visit with Jarvis too,
I
rather
would
in
like to do that.
a more private setting or whatever. I
I'd
mean,
like to do that.
that's agreeable, I would entertain a motion to table this, until a future date if.
I don't think you need a motion to table it. I mean, if you ever made
Um,
a decision to appoint him as an alternate, you can just bring it up.
Okay, no action taken then? Thank you, Jarvis. You have before you a consent agenda. For the purpose of discussion, I would entertain a motion to approve it and place it to record.
So moved.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion?
Approving, we're approving, right? Is that right?
Yeah.
Accepting.
Accept, approve.
Approve the consent agenda.
Yeah, I was gonna say, don't forget that.
4 minutes.
Oh, yeah, 4 minutes, okay, 4 minutes.
Chief Wilson, you've had a busy month.
That was a busy month.
You know what? Again, congratulations to your department. Once again, well, you guys had those 2 suspects fleeing, but congratulations, Officer Williams, and his part in that fire.
Luckily, he was in the right spot.
Yeah, so
That worked out good.
definitely congratulations to him and to your department.
Thank you.
Want to make note, I guess, the note I notice on there, and it's probably gonna be brought up later, is and it may be out of the consent agenda, but the check we got from Wyoming Community Gas
Yeah, that's an agenda item
is
coming up.
an agenda item. Yeah, it's not on the consent agenda, so I'll bring that up.
Merlin Candy has a note about WCDA and the CDBG grant process in her report, the administrative report. You're familiar with WCDA is like dead stop on grant applications, and I tried to get more information out of a couple contacts, and it's all personnel.
It's personal. I do know that, one person we were working with is no longer there. So there's just been personnel changes, but they're not saying it won't happen. There's just still a delay.
And so when are we having our conference call?
Tomorrow?
Tomorrow. So Merlin, just for you guys, Merlin and I and what's her bucket?
Kim,
Kim Reitmer from the Business Council and Candy, we're gonna kind of group and figure out what we want to do as far as going forward with other grant applications. And, you know, my feeling is we assume high probability that this one's okay for us. That'd be my assumption. We did a damn good job on
I
it.
think
Right?
so too.
Anyway, I have seen engineers out on 16th Street marking and drilling, and
And I did put up there on the council table the preliminary inspection report.
stop.
I think we're close. 7:30.
Straight up.
You need a motion
No, just go into the public hearing.
in the public hearing. All right, we will go into a public hearing at this time. I gotta find my sheet for, a transfer of a retail liquor license. Nathan James Libby filed for an application for a transfer of a retail liquor license from Landmark Bar Associates LLC. This time we have a public comment period.
And Mayor, Mr. Libby is here.
I figured as much. Do you have anything to add to our public hearing, Mr. Libby?
Well, Mayor, the only thing I was hoping for is to maybe make that building a little bit more up to par. And I just want, it's gonna stay the same, it's not gonna change. It's gonna be updated maybe, but, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Are you buying the business? Is that the-
Yes, the entire building.
Can you transfer a liquor license from a corporation to a
Yes.
individual?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes.
He applied for the liquor license as an individual,
What do you mean?
doing business as.
Super fun.
Fun time.
It's been a lot. We got through it.
You need a motion?
Well,
You'd have to have public comment.
Any public comment at this time?
Or against.
For or against? Kind of quiet back there. Hearing no public comment, I would entertain a motion to approve the transfer.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the transfer from Landmark Bar Associations LLC to Nathan James Libby.
Got a second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion will carry. And now we will end the public hearing and reconvene the regular council meeting.
And I believe we're at the end of the consent agenda. I didn't hear any other comments on the consent agenda. So I move to accept the consent agenda.
we already have that motion.
We
We already have
You did
that.
make that motion.
We have the motion.
And the second,
And a
right?
second, okay.
Is there any other further discussion before I call the question?
There you go.
Your open positions.
I have a street department position, alignment, and electric, or water.
Oh, alignment, yeah.
I lost 2 streets, employees left, and then but we hired 1. And we hired front desk clerk, yay.
Yeah. Oh,
You're still down alignment too?
I'll be happy, huh?
Still down alignment?
Yes.
No.
Those are very hard to fill.
Yeah, since the last one came from Arizona and went back to Arizona.
We have summer crew lined up though, right?
I have a summer crew lined up. Yep.
None of the AMIs have been actually delivered to point of use and installed.
No, but we're getting close. We're getting close. We've been getting the meters and the routers and the collectors. We're just waiting on a couple antennas.
Yeah.
And,
I noticed something new on the lamp post out here. Antennas sit on top of it. Like the lights, the red-green stoplight or something.
oh, that might be a white dot thing. I don't think that's us. I mean, that's-
What?
Service radio.
With no further discussion, all in favor of accepting and placing to record the consent agenda, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion will carry. I gotta find my agenda again. We are moving on to petitions, memorials, proclamations, and public comment. Item number 1 is Wyoming Community Gas, and I believe Lorraine is here to give us the good news.
So for 2021 year, the town of Wheatland raised $10,456.08.
We're supposed to. Thank you.
Thanks for your
you.
work.
Thank you for your work.
Yes. It's very enjoyable. Thank you.
Seems like it goes up every year, isn't it?
This next year, might not, but because I'm the only one, but.
Yeah, normally we have 2 working on it this year, Lorraine's handling that on her own.
Typically, we use that money for park equipment, right? You said
Park
Yeah,
update.
for some handicap.
Yeah, this year
equipment
is gonna be for some handicapped equipment as well.
Like what? Just out of
Down
curiosity.
at the park, at Lewis Park, several years ago, they had installed some handicap equipment for like wheelchairs and that sort of thing. It's all broken apart and it's not in use anymore. The outside of it, the structure part is still there, but the swings and that sort of thing are gone. So we'll just use some money to
Yeah, okay.
get that up and working again.
Thank you, Lorraine.
Thank you.
Item number 2 is the Arbor Day proclamation. I suppose due diligence is I should read it. The Arbor Day proclamation, whereas Arbor Day has contributed to the public's awareness of the importance of trees, and whereas the National Arbor Day Foundation has been a leader in the promotion of education and importance of planting trees in communities across America, and whereas trees provide city dwellers with many comforts and pleasures, such as providing shade, cleaning our air, providing beauty, buffering harsh urban sounds, providing shelter from winter winds, providing shelter for wildlife, and increasing property values. And whereas an official Arbor Day proclamation is one of the 4 requirements by the National Arbor Day Foundation for a community to meet certification as a Tree City USA, now therefore be resolved that I, Mayor Brandon Graves, do hereby designate Friday, April 29th, 2022 as the day to celebrate Arbor Day in the town of Wheatland, and encourage all citizens to actively support tree planting and protection as a means to improve our community and quality of lives.
Amen.
And they do a neat program at school for the kids. And then, my reading's not done. We have another proclamation on child abuse awareness and prevention. Child Abuse and Awareness Prevention Month, whereas children are our future and no child should suffer abuse and neglect. And whereas victims of child abuse and neglect are known to be at a higher risk for experiencing post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, low academic achievement, drug use, juvenile delinquency, teenage pregnancy, and adult criminality. Every child is precious and deserves to grow up in a healthy, safe, nurturing environment free from the harmful effects of abuse and neglect. And whereas effective child abuse intervention and community prevention programs succeed because of partnerships created among community members, social services, and law enforcement agencies, schools, churches, businesses, and civic organizations. And whereas each April, Child Advocacy Centers of Wyoming, the Children's Trust Fund Board, Prevent Child Abuse Wyoming, Wyoming Citizen Review Panel, and the Wyoming Department of Family Services, the Wyoming Office of Attorney General Division of Victim Service, the Wyoming GAL program, the town of Wheatland, and other partners join in an effort to prevent abuse and neglect through outreach, education, and intervention. Now therefore I, Brandon Graves, Mayor of the town of Wheatland, do hereby proclaim April 2022 as Child Abuse Awareness and Prevention Month. And that would be the end of proclamations and petitions and memorials at this time. Do we have any public comment? Merlin?
Sure. Some things coming up, the Platte County Economic Development Corporation and the Platte County Chamber of Commerce are working on a joint project. Maybe you've seen it on Facebook or heard about it on the radio. We're having a total spring show. We used to have one years ago. We've decided to bring it back. We talked with Ken Smith. He gave up because had outlived its time, and he was a little busy for it, and so we've decided it's time to try to bring it back. It'll be May 14th out at the Agriplex. We have 41 booths available indoors and quite a few outdoors, so any businesses that are hearing about this for the first time, get in touch with myself at Platte County Economic Development for more information. My number is 331-1749. I have my phone with me all the time, so I will answer it eventually. Or call the chamber if you want to make reservations for a booth. We decided it would be kind of pointless to both of us take reservations because then we wouldn't know how many booths we'd sold. So the chamber's handling all that. Again, that's May 14th out at the Agriplex. We'll start at 9 in the morning and end about 3 in the afternoon. Lunch will be served, compliments of Platte Valley Bank and First State Bank.
Saturday?
Pardon?
Is that a Saturday?
Yes, it is. So hope to see everybody out there. A couple of things, other projects I'm working on right now. Cinema West should be opening about the 22nd of this month. So watch the newspaper for that. She's going to start advertising. It might be in this week's paper. We'll see. I'm also working with Colt Thayer, opening up the slaughterhouse down on the end of 9th Street, and I'm working with his next door neighbor, Brad Jenkins, on opening a project there that I can't really talk about, but we hope to have that open by Labor Day weekend, or Memorial Day weekend, sorry. The Gaddy's Body Shop was bought by Black Hills Gas, so hopefully that doesn't make another empty spot. Sideways movement instead of growth. But they should be doing some exciting things there. They may mean more employment in the town of Wheeling. So we'll see how that all pans out. That's really all I have right at the moment. 16th Street, we'll work on that tomorrow. We'll have a conversation. So we're still working on that. It isn't like we forgot about it. It's just hurry up and wait. The progress is being made, I think. So, any questions on anything? Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Merlin.
Thanks, Merlin.
It's your turn. It's your turn.
Yes, Travis?
Cactus Jack, celebrating his 95th year of life, would like to address the council.
If I could, I hope I'm not like my president, because I hope I remember what I thought at home. Well, it's in regard to all our cats. I go to the VFW, they talk about cats. I go to the seniors, they talk about cats. I go to play bingo, they talk about cats. It's what they're supposed to be doing. You got a real problem, let me assure you. So I'm thinking about it, and I'm gonna run something past you. And if you think I'm dumb, don't mind saying so. I've been called worse in it. But going back to my day, in it, you had to be in control of your animals. And if they got over in your plate too many times, you shot the damn thing. And if a human got over there 2 times, you shot him with it. So that's the difference for today when I was raised. And anyway, what the cats are past being pets. They're wild. They're really wild. Up in my little area, I don't know, well, he's my neighbor. I don't know, we got something like 18 to 30 cats in just that little area. So you take the whole block, I don't know what we've got. But anyway, to take care of both sides, where the people, are really fanatic about animals in it. So we got to satisfy 2 sides, which I know, So what I was thinking, what you should do is call a meeting, and then the people that are really wanting to keep cats, then say, okay, how many cats do you want to keep? You want to keep 1, 2, or 10? But they got to prove to you that they're going to be able to control them. They got to fence it in. They've got to make sure that if the smell, they got to find something to make it smell like roses. Because when it gets hot, it's starting to smell around town. Because I've had a lot of carpenters and electricians tell me in the summertime it's really getting bad in places. So if that's how many cats they want, then they can limit it from them, but they've got to control it. And they got to go through the city to have it okayed that they have the facilities that would take care of that many cats in it. And that's where you'd set the limit in it. And so that way, you probably got to get somebody that would go help. You'd have training. And, you know, I've known you kids forever. That's a long time. And when you got a good council now, you're doing a good job. And if you weren't, you know me, I'd tell you you weren't. I've always been blunt. And so you'd be a great group to work with. But this way, the people that really are sold on cats, because there's some fanatics out there on both sides, but they can, if they want 10 cats, they list it, so they gotta make the facilities for the 10 cats, and that's it. And then, but they gotta make sure they don't get out of their backyard, because this is what it is, because now they're just so wild you can't do anything with them. And they're diseased. We found a guy now is starting to buy that house, or from me. I guess he just purchased it. He's already found 3 dead cats, and they're getting ready to clean that place up in it. So I thought that must be something that you could kick it around, because you'd have control of it in it, and make the rules and make them real strict, and that's what they got to go by in it, because this thing's so far out of control. And then it's a sad thing to do, but it comes to that, even way back in the Depression time, which I hope you guys never go through, we had to kill some hogs and cows and shoot them to make the program work. Well, what we're gonna have to do with the cats, I'm sure they make something today that you can just put them to sleep. So if they want 10 cats and that, and we gotta put the rest asleep, you know, which is, I think, you know, pretty humane in it. Otherwise, you're never going to get control of it, because they're running every direction. I wouldn't know how many thousands and thousands of cats we got, but we got to do something. Because I'll tell you what, when you go in your house and you carry cat poop and step on your wife's carpet, let me tell you, big trouble. And you got to clean your mower out. You got to clean the wheels off. You got to wash it underneath. You got to clean the bag out. Because I just took care of my yard, and I like to never got that mower cleaned underneath that day. And my yard was just full of it. So you got to do something, because people shouldn't have to worry about crap on your feet and going in the house and taking off shoes and cleaning them every time, you know. But so you're going to have to get rid of a bunch of them, but give the people that do have cats and really adore them, let them pick out, you know, you're going to have to put a limit, but say 10 cats or something, but they got to keep them under control and build a fence or whatever it takes so they're not over on the other people's yards. Because I think you got to admit we've got to do something in it. Now, I don't know if it brought up to you in that line, but I think that satisfies both sides, because you're giving them an opportunity to keep some pets. But the other side, you're going to get rid of a lot of them because they're diseased. And what I'm afraid of, and I've kind of checked into that with some different people, and I checked with some doctors, and they're a disease carrier. Now, some kid gets out there on that lawn and gets the wrong thing, you know, you could have quite a lawsuit over that deal, because they make quite an issue out of that. But you're saying, think something of that nature would be something you might consider? Because I don't know what else you're going to do,
It's always on the radar.
Yeah,
The feral cat issue is always on the radar.
Sorry.
I said the feral cat issue is always on the radar. I mean, you're like the reoccurring theme here tonight with your concerns with it because we hear it a lot.
I hear it a lot.
Yeah.
Do you think something of that nature would work? Because they're getting an opportunity to keep some cats, and yet, you get it back under control, because it's out of control. So it's gonna take something of that nature to get it back under control, because they're wild. They're past a pet, they're wild. And so I think you're gonna have to eliminate some to get it. I see Cheyenne did that about 2 or 3 years ago. They got so overrun, and they had to put some of them to sleep. But I'm sure they got something, you know, they can put in their food that just let them go to sleep instead of having to shoot them, you know. I just thought I'd pass it on to you and see what you thought.
I'm sorry if I just want to make sure I'm understanding your suggestion is that we make an ordinance or something that restricts.
Come up.
No, it's great. You want an ordinance to restrict
Yeah,
the number of animals?
Yeah,
that
you gotta make an ordinance, and then you're gonna have to, you guys got enough running the city, then you gotta get some volunteers to, and then you gotta make a list of what you're gonna require. Decide you gotta have this fenced in where they can't get out, and make a list in detail. And you take somebody like myself, I'd go look, you know, and not charge anything. People would, and cause you guys got enough running the city. But you gotta do something, cause it's a mess. It's just terrible. You can walk down a sidewalk and get cat poop on you.
Right.
Deal. But that way, let them figure out how many, and if you feel they can control 10 cats, then make it that. And then limit it and make rules, and then have somebody volunteer and go check them out, like myself. We ain't got nothing else to do. And that way we could, cause you guys got enough expense as it is, so we go every 60 days or 30, we go check these, take how many and go check their yard and make things, everything. And if you get a complaint that's smelling, then they gotta get something and spray the yard. I'm sure they make stuff. But I'm sure they make something that's just to go to sleep. And like they just use on humans. See, I'll give you a good example of that. I just like I got the right doctor. See, a year and a half ago, I was out of my body. I died. Smith wouldn't let me go because I sold him all his saddles and everything. Normally at my age, you just give you a pill anymore. And so I know what it is. But so that way, they take care of both sides, satisfy, give them a choice what they want, and then have somebody go around and check every 60 days or something. Because you guys got enough to do. Do you think something of that nature might work? I don't think he brought that up.
No, I don't think so.
Because you got to eliminate them because there are just too many. There's no other way you get around it.
Okay.
And
I think Councilman Montoya, that was one of the first things he brought up. As he come
Actually, I
on.
got that suggestion from Jack.
Oh.
He heard I was going to be on the council and he cornered me.
Okay.
But anyway, I hope
All right.
you can do something with it. Thank you for your time.
Thanks,
I appreciate it very much.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
Jack.
Cactus.
Amen. Good seeing all of you.
On that
And I can still
subject,
see all of you.
Yeah.
after last month, I kind of was poking around, just surfing on other options, because
And if I can help you in any way, get a few people, just don't hesitate to call me. You know.
what we had decided or tried to do in the past, and a few of us remember, was trap, spay, neuter, and release, which we felt was and one of the issues we had with that is finding veterinarians that will do the surgery. And unless you have a lot of animals to do, they don't want to do one at a time, two at a time.
I tried the same thing with that trap. You'd be forever. You wouldn't get anything. The guy just gotta face it. That's what Cheyenne did. I called and found out. They just put them to sleep.
So one of the things I've found as I've kind of digging around is there's a lot of good work going on non-surgical sterilization and injection in mostly male cats. It's already working for male dogs. But I just happened to notice here that one of the study papers came out of Colorado State, and I have veterinary contacts at Colorado State. So
Yeah.
what I'm going to suggest is that if we want to put this on the agenda for next month, I'll go do some more research and see what I find out about this option.
The only trouble with that sterilization and stuff, that's gonna take you forever.
It will take time. You are right.
Then
But we'll also
see,
look
I
at
thought about that, but that'll take forever.
Well,
You still have thousands of cats running around. There's no other way out of it that, like I said, sometimes it just takes that. I mean, we didn't like shooting our cattle and hogs either, but it worked, and our system then worked, if it could exist. It just comes to what you gotta do, you gotta do.
But I think, Jack, what comes into play here, which didn't back in the day,
Beg your pardon?
What comes into play today, which didn't back in the day, is you can ask Candy, you start bringing up euthanizing something, and there's a lot of different things that come in. We can't just go euthanize.
No.
Is that right, Candy?
Correct.
Yeah, you just can't go euthanize because of the
animal rights
activists.
Yeah.
You talk about lawsuits, and somebody gets bit, well, you start plugging cats.
Yeah, but you can't be, just let anything run.
And I agree 100%, but what I'm saying, you start euthanizing, that's a better word than plugging them, but there's a whole different aspect now that you didn't have back in the day.
Yeah.
You got all these activists now, and you talk about.
Oh, yeah, you'd have to check with somebody like Cheyenne that had to get rid of them and see how.
I can tell you what PETA says. PETA's position has never been that all feral cats should be euthanized. We believe that trap, vaccinate, spay, neuter, and release programs are acceptable.
Yeah.
When the cats are isolated from roads, people, and
Well, I'd say you're far more coherent than our current president, so if you want to run, I'd vote for you.
Daryl. You can trap and spay all you want, but they're still gonna crap in each yard.
That's right.
That's right.
That ain't gonna stop it.
No,
You're right.
It's a
When we have
long
trouble
term.
with coyotes, you know what we do?
Yeah.
We put a bounty on them.
And well, I have
Willie?
Well, you got a couple individuals driving down the alleys playing Johnny Appleseed with cat food, so.
Yeah,
we've talked about
we've
that.
had that discussion also.
Yeah.
But the worst of it is you got people donating money to her.
Well, and we've tried the legal aspect with the chief back there, and I mean, there's just not a good venue to.
It's a hard one.
It is a hard one.
Hard one.
and people from out of town drop their cats off in town. I mean, seriously.
I had one other, change the subject.
More
In our,
public comment?
in our consent agenda, I didn't get to it, but I wondered how,
Jack,
first of all.
your comments didn't fall on deaf ears.
The garden?
Perfect answer.
Don't you guys laugh, you're gonna get home someday.
You said that your comments didn't fall on deaf ears.
Oh, thank you very much. Appreciate the job you guys are all doing.
Thanks for coming, Jack.
Thank you.
Last month, we authorized some money for the Rex for the ball fields. And I'm wondering how they got their stuff and they
Yeah, they've
implemented
been
it.
working on it, and
Okay.
Bobby and Donnie were out there moving sprinklers, and they've, Parks and Rec have been posting pictures on
Have you been out
Facebook.
there?
No,
Oh.
but I was just asking these guys, so I got a question, I was asking these guys, do they bring in the receipts for the material they got for the money that we donated? Okay.
Yep.
I was just curious about
Yep.
that.
As yes, they'll bring in their receipts and everything. We'll either pay the bill directly or we'll reimburse Parks and Rec.
Okay. And then, is there they're still doing their tournament at the end of this month?
As far as I know.
I know Alan wasn't here last month, but they're doing a tournament.
There's a couple.
Doing my own sand work.
You did your own sand work?
Sand
I know they did get.
Oh, yeah, right.
They did get some sod pulled up and they're trying to level infield.
I've been working on it the last couple of weeks.
Okay.
Big softball at the end of this month, and then have a big Legion tournament
Legion. It's in May.
in May.
That's right. That's right. Okay. Well, good.
Weekend, dude.
I know.
What's that?
Memorial weekend.
Yeah, it's like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I mean, it's a multiple day deal.
Don't even remember we started that.
Thank you. I was just curious. Okay.
Is there any other public comment at this time? Moving on to unfinished business, item number 1 is the economic health and development trends. Councilman Ritz?
So you have your report that we're standardizing, and Candy and crew are adding data to the what we have standardized, and a neat little trend on the uphill side on utility users, which is kind of interesting. That's neat. I like that. Enrollments.
There was no updated information on there, so I just kept it at the same.
Okay. Okay. I haven't gotten an answer from Corey about home
thoughts.
Home. Let's see here. Licensed contractors are 100 up 3. I think Merlin and you guys have been helping Candy make a list of the open vacancies, and if Black Hills moves out to Gaddy's and leaves that open, I don't know that that's too bad of a thing, because that's more, Gaddy's is more industrial, and that property would be better suited for retail /
Different use. Yeah.
a different use.
Yeah, that's a possibility.
So last month we talked about adding a couple things, and we talked about job openings and job seekers. You told us, or down at the Workforce Services, they had about 200 openings. I talked to them some more, and I think we have a couple of pieces of data we can legitimately add here, and it's not hard to get. It's actually on the Workforce Services, both Workforce Services and the Department of Employment. So job openings in Wheatland, as of today, when I looked, 218. And that's in Wheatland. I did a 5-mile radius. I said, searched for Wheatland and 5-mile radius. If you do greater than 100, it's like 1,000. So that was interesting. And then from the Department of Employment LMI data, there are 19 continuing unemployment claims. And I'm thinking that's a number that would be relevant to us as far as job seekers or people, out of work, maybe looking for jobs. It's not going to be precise, but it's tracking that number. It's down actually from 26 to 27 from last month. But if you look at the ratio 218 to 19, that's not good. That's a hard one. Yeah. So that's so I think we can start building a table with that data on it.
That unemployment insurance figure doesn't include people that aren't drawing unemployment and not working.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's kind of
it is a little fuzzy, but it's, it's a matter, you start collecting some data, right? So that's what I know.
So if I email the spreadsheet to you, will you?
I can.
Okay.
All right, now we have under unfinished business item number 2, an agreement with Straight Pipe Striping Incorporated for the seal coat and marking project at the airport.
Say that 3 times.
Yeah. Fast.
Straight. I can't do it.
Last month, you approved the notice of award for stripe painting. So now this is the contract. There's 9 airports included. So this company will do 9 airports this summer, where everyone goes.
Doug, I've read through that and I don't know. It's fine. You have to remember, a lot of the contract documents, part of this agreement incorporates the contract documents that the engineer and the bid documents that the engineer prepared. And so, because I was worried there's no price in it, but you awarded it, you have $106,542.70. That's in the bid documents. It's referred there. And so I don't see any issues with having the mayor actually. That was way more than I can decipher. I mean,
I know, I read the whole
I read that thing and I'm like,
Some good dry reading.
part of it is you have to comply with the federal standards, because we're getting some money from them. It's FAA, and so I think you're fine.
Does it have anything relative to terms on payment?
I think there's a provision that they submit the payment each billing period and we'll pay it in so much time. And it might actually, the specifics in there, Councilman Briggs, may be in the bid documents and the contract documents that are not in front of us tonight. Yeah, I thought there was something. Paragraph 602, 6.02.
Really?
Owner shall make progress payments on account of the contract price on the basis of the contract's application for payments. And then if you go on, and it says it'll be paid in a reasonable manner.
It doesn't even say it has a star there
Yeah.
on each day of the month.
Because we always gripe, because I always want it done by the 10th, and we never.
That's right. Are we gonna retain anything?
I think there's a provision that says we retain a certain amount, and then we give them the notice of the completion, and after that's given, then we pay that retainage.
Really, you're looking at a contract that's been with the town of Wheatland, but they're also doing it with 9 other.
Right.
So
But this is just, yes,
it's getting a lot of review.
yes it is.
And this is paid with, 90% of paid with grant funds.
Move to accept the agreement with Straight Stripe Painting Incorporated and authorize the mayor to sign.
I second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion will carry. Procurement policy. Item number 3 under unfinished business is the procurement policy. What kind of verbiage do we want to use here? We made a revision to the town of Wheatland procurement policy. Excuse me, that was originally adopted in November of 2021 to make the addition to maintain compliance with Wyoming statute 166101 through 166107 and the verbiage included in the policy, calling the policy revision A, I guess. So do we need a motion to adopt the policy?
If you're gonna adopt this policy, remember when you talked in the workshop, you're gonna take the front page is okay. The second page where the purchase preferences, you're gonna remove that. and then Candy can reprint it with the revision adopted on today's date, April 11th, 2022.
Okay. So I need a motion equivalent to that.
Yes.
Move to accept the procurement policy with the changes on page 1. And on the back page, remove the purchase preferences.
Yeah.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion will carry. Moving on to new business, item number 1, we have One Child and Family Development. We have Lori Milnes here to speak to us.
Yep, and I brought someone with me, so.
Do you think we're mean? You had to bring reinforcements or what?
I brought the boss. Not the boss. Not the boss. My name is Candy Mann, and I'm actually the Special Services and Mental Health Coordinator for Wyoming Child and Family Development. I've been in the position for about a year, so Lori actually brought me, this was our first time doing the local match presentation, so. Just thank you for your support in the past and also your continued support in having us here tonight. Lori did bring a thank you that the kids made recently, so, yep, there it is.
Little fingerprint butterflies.
Didn't we have last year's sitting
Yeah,
over
I think
here
it's
for
up front now.
Fabulous. Well, there you go. Some new artwork. As you know, we are a nonprofit organization. Our special services and developmental disabilities is funded by both both state and federal funds. And so part of that, one of our funding sources just has a requirement that we generate a maximum of 3% in local matches across the counties that we provide developmental disability services to. We recently expanded to Laramie County, so now we provide services over 9 counties. Early Head Start and Head Start services over those 9 counties to about 900 children now. This year alone, we're providing special ed services, speech services, PT, occupational therapy, all of those services to about 150 children, Wyoming Child and Family wide. So I'll let Lori speak specifically about Wheatland, how many services are being provided.
So in Wheatland, again, we provide, speech, occupational therapy, physical therapy, services here at the center. I think we serviced this year about, I think we're at like 30, 35 kids. This is what we have on right now, just for Wheatland. And just kind of not on the disability side, but just some other things that are happening. Just as a community partner, starting June 1st, we are adding another program out here where we will have birth to 3-year-olds at the center year round from 7:30 to 4:30 every day. Just because there is that huge need in Wheatland for daycare for birth to 3-year-olds. So that is something just kind of doesn't have to exactly do with the disability side of it, but just to let you guys know that we are planning to add a new program here really shortly.
How many do you employ?
For the entire organization? Or just in Wheatland?
Are you talking your entire organization encompasses?
I'm kind of so when I speak more for like the entire organization. Lori is our center coordinator in Wheatland, so she can speak more to like what her site employees. All around though, for our entire organization, about 300 employees. Wheatland has
we have 17 here in Wheatland, and then we are just hiring more so we can add the new program. So we'll have, I think, hopefully 20 by the end of the week because we're hiring people this week. So we'll have about 20 employees out there.
Have you had people apply?
We have. I actually interviewed some this morning, and tomorrow, that's what I get to do all day tomorrow.
That was gonna be my question.
How difficult has it been to get people to come out? Find a lot of people apply, but they're not really qualified.
I knock on wood. We've not had quite the problems with that as other places. We've even had substitutes this year, and I've been out there for 10 years. in different positions, and I think this is the most substitutes we've ever had. So that's why, knock on wood, that's really good thing right now.
It can be challenging. One of our biggest challenges has been having enough people qualified to provide like the special ed services. So we share all of our speech therapists, we share many of our physical therapists, occupational therapists, our early childhood special ed teachers. We only have 4, and they all go to multiple sites and stuff. And so that's kind of been a challenge, but we still make it work, and we have a lot of people that are willing to do the travel and stuff like that. So I guess in your packet, what you guys have been provided is what you guys, the consideration of continued assistance, the $4,500 for our program. That it also talks about how many children we've screened in Wheatland starting January 1 through December 31st of last year. Our numbers were down just a little bit. Typically, we screen about 175 children annually. We were about out of 144, but a lot of that we chalked up to COVID. Some of our counties have been up, and some of our counties have been down. And really, when we looked at Wheatland as a whole, it just kind of seemed COVID played a little bit of. We also, in Wheatland, provide services to a visually impaired child, and we contract with a TVI teacher out of Cheyenne, and she commutes up here weekly?
Twice a month.
Yeah.
Yep.
To
Just
provide
because
those
she's
services,
studying.
so.
Yep, and we've been able to work with the school district also. And so like that therapist will move on with the child when they move to the school district. So that's one less change and transition for them. So we've really partnered with them on it too.
So do the kids you have in Chugwater, do they come up here?
No, we go to Chugwater.
You go to Chugwater, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, our therapist, we were going to Glendale, but they ended up moving to Wheatland. But they do go to Chugwater also.
And Hartville and Glendale, or Guernsey,
Yep.
you travel, okay.
Yep.
We had this conversation about last year.
A couple years ago, you always have to show what benefit the town of Wheatland gets for it.
Yeah, because
And we
it doesn't
haven't,
fall under Article 16.6.
not
Because it's not.
completely, but I think two things that I heard tonight, they're providing services for low income. I think that allows the town to do something. And also, there's a bit of an argument that they've hired 3 more people for some economic development.
But
And I can't remember the exact,
a different
I can't remember that. but-
constitutional statute that applies to this.
In years past, what I call her Toodles, had it.
Yeah.
She had it.
Toodles.
Yeah, she had it on there.
She had it.
And I can't remember the exact.
Our executive director said 2 years ago,
She had it on there,
She
how
has
it fell in
yes.
the criteria.
And I can't remember
I
that.
can pull that up and we'll add this to our budget discussions.
Yeah, Nordine. Hopefully camera didn't catch mine.
You were off camera.
Let's see, fixed dollar amount every year, because it doesn't ever change. Your contributions never change.
Correct. Yep.
State grant, federal grant. That's Tamara.
I think they base it off of that is the amount that has just been approved from the years past. Because when I was working through these with our executive director and fiscal manager, there was only a couple that had changed, and that was due to just those towns just, stating, ask for more, whatever they've been able to do in the past, that's how those other towns were able to change. So yeah, it's always been 4,500, I believe, for Wheatland, just based on, yep.
I'm sorry, what was your name again? I didn't.
Tammy Mann, and I live in Douglas. I'm out of Douglas.
You're the area coordinator?
No, I am the special services mental health coordinator. So I don't know if Jody Palmer ever came to these in the past, but that's whose position I took over about a year ago. So I used to be an early childhood special ed teacher, like Lori was in the past. We actually used to work together for the last 10 years or however long, so new to this position. And this is my first time doing this, so I might have stuttered and stumbled. I am apologize. I have a newborn at home, so I don't get a lot of sleep.
Well, thank you for coming to.
Absolutely, no, thank you guys. Like, thank you for your time. And
One thing of note from my perspective, and I'm sure the fellow council members will agree, we appreciate a complete description and a thorough presentation, and the earlier the better, because the last minute scramble from a lot of other organizations, it gets tough as you're in that. So, I mean, we appreciate your diligence of doing this in a very good, timely fashion with good material. We appreciate that. Thank you.
yeah, thank you for your feedback.
Thank you.
New business item number 2 is a pole attachment agreement with Visionary Communications.
Stacy McDonald with Visionary Broadband. Our Visionary Communications is our umbrella organization. I think we've been talking about this for quite a few months, trying to get the pole attachment agreement going. I think we have gotten to a draft. The one thing I think that I want to ask for tonight is, I looked back to see what kind of prices we're paying for pole attachments in all other communities, and the average cost that we're paying in almost every Wyoming community is between $6 and $7. And so we have had discussions where I think our attorney and Doug landed at $15 a pole, which is still almost double. And we haven't been able to see any documentation where you're charging other community or other providers a similar price. So it does feel like a bit of a competitive disadvantage for us to pay pretty extreme per pole rate. It's probably also prohibitive for us to continue expansion into your community at that rate. So we are doing a build for the state ETS to 4 agencies, DCI, DOC, and a couple of others. And so we do have to get those done. The advantage of an overhead build is that it's faster, it's more efficient, and it doesn't disrupt because you don't have to dig. You don't have to tear up any roads or anything like that. You can do things above ground for the most part. So there's some advantages to doing overhead as well.
And I'll speak to the dollar amount. Wheatland is somewhat unique. Like Vive has their own pole. The cable system has their own poles on one side. Those are not our poles, so we don't charge a pole agreement. CenturyLink, or whatever it was when it first started, Mountain Bell, Jarvis was starting out, a long time ago. Those poles are mixed, and so if we went down that highway, I think the poles that we're talking about today, we know are ours. That are, most of these poles right now are probably in the alleyway at the jail. That would be for the DOC and some and DCI, because I call Ms. McDonald, so we don't have DCI here, but it's really for the jail and that stuff. The other place was for the unemployment office, workforce services, and that doesn't have poles out there. That is all underground because that's out in Black Mountain, so there's no.
And we sent a map of the poles. You guys should have a map of the poles.
And here, I think Candy, somebody has the map. I don't have, but. So they're really not at a competitive disadvantage. It's just a unique situation where Visionary has this, whereas Vive has their own poles in Wheeler.
There's like 4 poles, I think Campanio said, where Vive has attached to our poles, and so we can start working with them for those 4 poles. But other than that, there's nobody on our poles. But in CenturyLink or Quest or Mountain Bell or whatever, they were all their poles at one time. And we've been slowly replacing when they go bad. So if we wanna go down that avenue, that will be probably a year-long process to determine if it's Quest pole or our pole. Or
So you don't really
CenturyLink
know how many poles are involved?
We do, we've sent a map of the poles that we want to
Okay.
use for this first one, and our competitive disadvantage isn't really about Vive, because they do use their own poles, so that's not really, I think it really is more about the CenturyLink poles, and the idea that, they're not paying any per
But some
pole
of them
rate,
are their poles.
but the ones that are your poles, they don't pay any rate for those poles. And then we're being asked to pay $15 a pole,
But we're not paying CenturyLink or.
CenturyLink would be paying you, you don't.
But we're not paying CenturyLink for the use of their poles.
It's just like you leapfrogging.
Oh,
into
it's
what you're saying.
and I can tell you, other towns have this issue, Pal and Cody, and they finally just walked away from CenturyLink and said, we're not dealing with you anymore. Because all of a sudden CenturyLink decided to own everything.
How many poles are you wanting to attach to?
I think in the map, I'd have to go back and look. I don't have the map with me either, but I want to say right now for the jobs that we're doing, I think there's under 15 poles that they're looking at. And so we've gone back and forth of like, we just got to get this project done. So, you know, the trouble with agreeing to it is it just isn't fair in the basis of what our competitors are having to do. And then it's also prohibitive of, if we want to continue to build more fiber on additional poles, if the pole attachment agreement is that high, we either have to be in a position to renegotiate it or choose a different town that has open for $6.
So we researched.
They pay Lingle, I think, $25.
Right, we only own, in Lingle, we're only paying on one or two poles. And we have an agreement with them, if we would expand there, that we would have a renegotiation of that pole agreement. So like I said, I went and looked them all up, and all of them, whether it's the town or the utility, we're paying between $6 and $7 for almost every town. We do have the outlier of Lingle. We have an outlier of $11 in Torrington, which also has an annual renegotiation conversation.
We are being contacted too by other providers. So this will be just our first one.
What is the feel of King Pino? I mean,
Well-
go ahead.
Well, we took, I think Stacy had provided a draft agreement and then there was missing some information. So I got a hold of Lingle and got their agreement. And then I sent it to the electrical engineers who reviewed it. They made some changes, some additions, and then Campanio did too. So they have all reviewed this.
I have a question. How did we come up with the $15 per foot of space? Where did $15 come up?
From the attorney, their attorney.
Well, that was a negotiation. Our attorney's negotiation was, we really asked her to get between 7 and 11, but these guys originally started at $24, which is 3 times the amount that we paid.
And where did we come up with the 4?
Because that's what they were paying Lingle. Well, they're paying Lingle. Because that's what they're paying Lingle. So it was a starting point, and then the electrical engineers felt that that was fair. That was where we needed somewhere to start.
There's no technical number as far as how many times you have to climb the pole to fix it or labor to whatever. I mean,
No, and we included in here too that they would, that's up to them to, and
go ahead.
Here's where I think they look at it. It's not our job to repair it. We're just saying, you're gonna lay it on our poles. So you're gonna pay us, because we paid for the poles. If we have to replace them, we're gonna pay for the new poles. The town of Wheeland.
Yep.
If they break, we get to pay for them. You might have to come and rehook your things on, but it's at our cost. Those poles are at our cost when we install them. And so we're asking for so many dollars per year.
And who else is attached to our poles?
Nobody.
Nobody.
CenturyLink, but that's the problem. When we first, you have to remember, we had phones and electrical, and nobody cared at that point in time. They just put poles down the alleys and the streets so they'd have electrical and telephone.
if we go to CenturyLink and say, you're gonna pay us like we're asking them to, then they're gonna say, well, then you need to pay us. It's just,
I had Ken look at a couple poles, and I think he made a decision that we had replaced them, and so they were ours. But that's not the case all over town.
I mean, really, it's a subjective number.
I'm not arguing that, I'm just saying, yeah.
There's nothing to say, I mean, in the long grand scheme of things, it doesn't pay for anything. It's just the pleasure of using
For
the
the
pole.
cost of doing business, and there is an industry standard, so we're not trying to get out of paying it.
Like
We're not even
charging
trying
$1
to
lease for
get
a,
bottom dollar. I think we
for the ambulance.
still want to pay this exorbitant rate, and it doesn't.
There's no,
It's not like there's an expense associated.
expense unless you do.
There is an expense if you have to replace the pole.
What
But that would
expense?
be the
You'd
town's
have to take it
expense.
down, right?
No,
No.
it's our pole. It's
Because we're
the
attached to
pole, they're attaching to
Yeah.
our pole.
I know,
Because
so
they
let's say
would
we
own
take
the
our
pole.
pole down, and we say, we have to call them, we're gonna take our pole down, they've gotta go remove their equipment and put it back up.
I am assuming, yes, but I am assuming that somebody's made some calculation that when we replace it and there's some value for our pole to get attached, there's some value for them to attach to our pole.
Yep, I agree with Doug. There is a value
She's
for us.
saying her,
There's
her
a
value
value.
is not,
We don't, it's something that you guys decide the value.
well, what I figured out, what, $2,100 a year? Is that?
Like I said, the industry average for us is about between $6 and $7 a pole, and it usually follows whatever the other group is paying that's in town first, which is almost always a CenturyLink or a Mount Bell. We don't seem to have any documentation to see what they've been paying, or maybe there isn't any, and so we don't have anything to go off of.
So, yeah, I was just looking at the
The
bottom
thing is,
dollar,
what's
what it's
the, I know
costing you
it's
to
not a
use it.
measurable cost, but like when
On
Vive's
12 poles.
cables go down, we get the phone calls. You got a hot wire and you got, so now we're adding something to our pole. Not that them saying their cable's gonna come on, but I think we gotta compensate. It's gonna happen.
Oh,
And that's the biggest pain for Ken right now
How long
is
is a
chasing.
pole? What's the length of a pole?
Depends on where you put it. No, really, I mean,
like how tall is a pole? Like are they 40 feet?
40s, 30s, yeah.
Yeah, in between.
Well, I mean, how much is sticking out of the ground?
Oh, I don't know the answer to that.
15 feet, 20 feet?
oh, no,
More than that.
more.
Yeah, they're,
It has to be taller than a trash truck.
I would guess there's,
What does a pole cost?
yeah,
it's
I don't know what it is.
So like your
like
equipment,
1,700.
when you place on
It takes
the,
about a foot. Our
okay, that's what I was gonna ask.
That helps, that our equipment takes about a foot, and so normally that's what we're paying, we call it a per pole rate. I think it's in the document,
It
it
says a
says
foot.
per foot, but typically most of your stuff fits within a foot, if it goes outside you, then you have to pay the additional rate. But mostly it fits within a foot, so
And
we
that's why
call it
they
a
call
per
it a-
pole rate.
yeah.
And so, and then you set this as a standard, and then as you expand in the community, then you just stay in the standard. Like I said, if you guys want, this is what we've done in some other towns, is we say, give us the deal that other people are getting. If you want to renegotiate with someone else and come back and say, this is what we've raised it, and we're gonna raise it for everyone, then we would leave that open to the renegotiation of raising it. If everyone's getting a raise, not just us, We're fair guys.
What are you actually putting on the pole?
It's fiber optics.
Well, I know, but is it a box that only fits on one
There's
side?
usually a little bit of a box, and then there's some wire.
Can something else, if within that 1 foot of space, you put your box on this quadrant, can another object go on the same
It has
location?
to go to different spaces. Sometimes you will have, and
Different
sometimes
height?
and sometimes there are multiple providers that are on a pole. And it depends on the poles, how many providers can fit on a pole.
And it also, depending on the electrical system that you have, it allow you to put any more on that. And our agreement provides for that.
And we work with engineering to make sure that your poles are okay.
Um,
So legal, you only have 2 poles and you're paying how much?
The reason that we made them such a good deal is because there's only 2 poles. So honestly, I'll tell you why it happened, is because the CEO negotiated it, not me.
Is he what?
The CEO negotiated it, not me.
And he's a softie?
No, he just is in a hurry.
He's in a hurry.
He's just like, whatever, get it done. So, but I think when we set these standards, the same thing. If someone else comes in and you guys want them to come in and you're charging us 15, then everybody charges 15. And I think it's a preventative. If you're talking about economic development and fiber optics and some of those things coming in, it can be a preventative if we're paying $6 in every other town.
I know what you're telling us, you know, what you're saying the standard is, but also curious, the homeowner, have we done our due diligence and did research to see what these communities are paying, or do we need to look into that?
I can send you guys our agreements if you want to. I have signed agreements. That's where I took our list from. I mean, I didn't
just-
come here and make it up.
No, I mean,
and
I
some
guess
of them
like
are
a
with-
sales, I
some
mean,
of them
I'm
are
just
with the
saying.
town and some of them
I
are
was
with
just
the
curious,
utility.
make sure.
But they all range there. And like I said, I don't think I'm here saying it has to be $6 to $7. I think I'm open to a wider range, but 15 is pretty high if we're paying 6 somewhere else. I know inflation's here, so I'm here to talk inflation, but
What's the lifetime on a pole?
So the REA was paying for a 35-foot pole as of this morning, $490. This time last year was $326.
If you can.
500 roughly.
Plus, I think some of our poles are gonna be taller than that in these locations.
I look at the one they just worked on at South Street
Yeah.
Pharmacy, they got hit.
Yeah, that was,
The trash truck.
Really?
yeah.
How much are you charging the town for the use of your service?
it depends which program they get. But we have different,
I mean,
different speeds.
I was negotiating with you, because they cut us a rate, we're charging for stationary.
We are cutting you a rate. We have good prices that are competitive.
Really?
Yeah.
It's $10.
Lots of people love our service. It depends which speed you pick.
Well, if you could do one finger typing.
Okay, well, then you probably don't need a very fast one.
Just,
Oh, here's what the internet says.
I'm just throwing that out.
we signed that agreement with Vibe.
Doug.
And I'd rather kick Vibe out of this.
Go ahead.
Here's what the
I'll
internet says.
give it a Vibe out of this.
Wired pole
Yeah, gather stuff, and we signed an agreement.
Typically occupy 1 foot of space on the poles at a mean rate of 1758 and a median rate of 1556.
Where is that?
I just
On
Googled
the
it.
internet.
Just Googled it.
For what location?
I just Googled wired pole attachments, which typically occupy 1 foot of space, which is what we're talking about. On the poles had a mean rate of 1758 and a median rate of 1556.
So that's across the country, probably.
I'm just telling you what I found. I can't do it.
And I will
But
say,
I'm-
we've been negotiating this since November, so to do a Google search tonight feels like we need to
Well,
get started on, we need to get
I'm not
started on
gonna
our
take the
project.
blame on this. I talked to your lawyer and we reached this provision of this amount of money.
Yeah, Kim Pinio said $600 for a 40-foot pole.
So, I mean, what it seems like to me, the math's like, you got the per foot price of the pole, and that's what you're charging. I mean, that's.
It's really up to you guys, whatever price you want in there.
Do we need a motion? Maybe we can make a motion. I'll make a motion that we amend the pole attachment agreement with Visionary Communications to $10 per foot of space. Let's see if it goes anywhere.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Is there further discussion?
Yep. And did you say, I know you've been negotiating all along, but Ken is fine as the AMI stuff coming down the road, everybody's all fine in this section, okay. Like I said.
They didn't have any input on the dollar figure at all.
No, not the
But
dollar,
on
I'm
the
just
rest
talking
of-
about, we're giving up square footage of something we own. So I'll make sure Ken's happy, he's okay saying, why did you give up that much of a pole? And he's been involved with all this communication, and that's fine.
And in this agreement, if our poles won't accommodate it, they just don't get attached to the poles. They have to come back each time they want to attach to a pole.
And get approval.
Yes, make application. Yes.
Because I think they have to get permits and all that sort of.
Yep. doesn't.
And that's so we know what they're doing, plus if we don't have room or if there's a problem, we can either correct it then, or they just can't do that.
And typically, once this is done, then we get this agreement in place. We've done the franchise already, we do the pole attachment agreement. Then our engineers get together with Ken and they go through and say, this is what we want in this project, and then there's additional projects they get together.
Last time you did.
So, but I'm fine with that.
All right, is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
I have a hard bargain.
That was good, though.
I appreciate it. We really do want to serve the town.
Well, I tell you, I'm not happy with my internet, my office.
Well, we do plan to do fiber to the home in lots of communities. We're doing it in about 6 right now. Homes, businesses, when these schools and when the schools and these, in your community, we keep saying schools to Doug on accident, but we're doing schools all over in Casper, Cheyenne, everywhere, but the only place that he's here is state agencies is in this town. But when we drive past somewhere with fiber, then that means anywhere else we drive past could also be served, including residential.
Close.
Yeah.
What's your value added selling point over Starlink?
Well, the first thing I think, I'll tell you the truth, I can't get visionary in Cheyenne where I live. I wish I could, but I can't. And so I've had my finger on the button of Starlink about 6 times because like our CEO, he's testing it at his house. He wants to know how it works. And he said, you know, it's like anything. It has advantages and disadvantages. To me, the reason I can't push the button is because it costs almost $700 to sign up.
Yeah, there's
The initial investment is $700 and then $110 a month. And that's painful for me. That is more than ours. And so especially because of what I have right now, I'm using another provider. Stuff is working. I can stream. I can do the stuff I want to do. Sometimes I'm kind of aggravated at them, but generally it's going fine. So to put $700 down, if you live out in the nethers and the wireless can't reach you and you're stuck you built your house to be wind protected down in a gully, good for you, except for internet, Starlink might be a solution for you. You know, I do think there's some people it's going to work great for, but even Elon is saying it won't be a full solution for everyone. It'll still take these guys and those guys and these guys and these guys. So
150 megabits per second.
it's so fast.
Crazy.
Ryan said it kind of, he said it struggles when it moves, like if you're on a phone call, he said it struggles when it moves from the phone call from one satellite thing to the next.
When
He said when it switches, he said he's seen that and then they've had some latency troubles. But generally, I think most people who have it are pretty happy if they don't mind the cost.
That's right.
I think the other value add is that our customer service sits in Wyoming. Our tech support and customer service are in Wyoming. People do seem to like that. We are also, I think I've been at Visionary about 3 years. I'm employee number 53, and we're going to have 179 employees. So we are hiring everywhere. So if we can get into your community, it's felt like an uphill battle to come here and to be here. It's felt really hard. Everything we do has felt really hard.
Here in Wheaton?
Yes. And so we want to come here, and then we could have employees and offices and all those things. Thank you, I appreciate it.
Walk away.
They're 1 block away from.
Oh, yeah, 1 pole away.
Well, and as they're designing it, if you guys have stuff, I'll say to the whole group, this is something else that we do, is if we are coming in and you have a water tank or you have a video camera system or something that you want fiber fed, we can route it to go around the corner, and because it's going off of this ETS bid, it'll probably be the most economical way for you to get it done. And so that's what we've been spending a lot of time in. We're doing these big school bids that go all around the loop in Cheyenne and Casper. So we're meeting with all the communities and saying, what do you need done? Could we go down that alley instead of this alley and catch this other thing you're looking for? Could we go out to that water tank? Do you want these video cameras out there? So there are advantages to when we're coming around to these state agencies or around to the schools to loop other things in, businesses and homes for sure, but also there's community things that can happen along there too if you have needs. It's driving right by anyway, or we could just go around the one way instead of the other way. So if you want to think about that, and those conversations will happen once our pole attachment agreement's in place and our engineers start talking to your engineer.
All attachments in place.
Thank you. I'll let them know to give him a call.
New business item number 3, resolution 3-2022, amending the 2021-22 budget. I have 2 copies in front of me.
Yeah.
Okay, use the one, the most current was the one that was on the council table when you got here this morning.
Oh, that's been shuffled.
Oh.
Yeah.
So we added in the streets, the third whereas is for the street
Just have
department.
5 whereases as opposed to 4?
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
This one's some old news.
All right, Candy, you want to speak to this?
Sure. So, our first, whereas, the motor pool department has incurred approximately $39,000 of unanticipated costs for salary and benefits. This was an error when we went through budget. We did not budget enough to cover the mechanic. He was part-time at the end of last year, and so we just did not budget for his full salary. The second whereas is the park department has incurred approximately $12,000 for an unanticipated camera system at the band shell. So this was actually supposed to come out of the previous year's budget. We didn't get the invoicing and they didn't get the project done on time. So it was finished like it was August or September after the new fiscal year. So that was just a new camera system for the band shell.
So just shifting from one budget cycle to the next.
Yeah.
So that was it. It wasn't spent, so it went back in anyway.
Yeah, so, correct. So, third whereas, is Streets has incurred approximately $20,000 for unanticipated price increase to weed killer. So what happened here was the supplier notified us that there was gonna be a significant price increase on the weed killer. So we went ahead and bought it before the price went up, so we would have it.
Oh, for the upcoming season.
For this upcoming, yeah.
So this is shifting FY 22-23 into this year.
Yeah.
That's what you're doing.
Yes, correct.
That wasn't good.
Fourth, so whereas Parks and Recreation has incurred approximately $13,277 for unanticipated field work and repairs at the ball fields. This is what was approved at last month's meeting.
Right.
So down below, we go into all of those those increased in budget will come from the capital projects budget, which will be decreased by $84,277. And in the capital projects budget, what is not being, or what is giving us additional funds to be able to take from is the water line replacement is currently being engineered, but it will not be completed in this current budget.
Okay.
Also, the lawnmower for the Parks Department, that $39,000 is not being purchased this year because that wasn't even close to what the price ended up being. He couldn't get the mower he wanted. So we'll budget for that in the upcoming budget. So we did not purchase that lawnmower. Also, the fiber for the PD and town hall is not being done. That's what Jordan thing. So. Remember, he was going to go under the ditch and replace what was there.
Mm-hmm.
We're not doing that?
Not this, I don't know. We budgeted last year and then again this year, so
In other words, he didn't get to it.
Does he say, or he doesn't wanna go underground? He doesn't wanna.
Doesn't wanna
it's not a
crawl through that
spelunker.
ditch.
Let's say water's coming, so it ain't gonna happen.
I move to approve the resolution amending the 2022 budget. For the following departments: motor pool, parks and rec, and streets. Right? Streets had it.
Second it?
Okay, so discussion.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there further discussion?
Does this 39, 12, 20, 13, that all adds up to the 84,
77.
It does?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is it 64?
Hopefully we double checked, but
51, 71, 84.
Okay, well, that cleared up my concern. No change to the general fund transfer.
No.
Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
thank you.
Under announcements, we have our next regularly scheduled monthly council meeting on May 9th. And we will also start our round budget workshops on May 9th, 11th, 12th, 16th, and 19th at various times on those budget workshops. Any other announcements? Anything I missed? All right, well, I would entertain a motion to convene into executive session.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Just by litigation, for litigation purposes.
Give everybody a chance to.
Night, everybody.
Matt, how's the airplane?
Let's get closer.
It's not off the ground though.
No.